Well, howdy, y'all. Rüdrani Devi, the happiness lady from Nashville, Tennessee, where I reside. How y'all doing? I want to talk about another tool from this little yellow book called Choosing Happiness. And this one can be a little controversial. This tool is called No Drugs of Any Kind. And yeah, well, drugs can be a lot of things. They can be prescription, they can be non prescription, they can be alcohol, overusage or whatever. And, when I say overusage, there's no judgment here. I love a good martini or two, or sometimes, hey, sometimes three martinis, you know? What I'm talking about is when one chooses to use drugs to go unconscious. So, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to read a little bit from this little yellow book, and then I'll make a few comments. Wow, how do I see through these things? Yeah, because, like I said, it's a little bit of a controversial topic. I'm also going to take my retainer out. Hold on here. It's actually a Invisalign, but here we go. I have this thing about perfect teeth. No judgment there. Midday espresso. Okay, here we go. I'm actually not going to start at the beginning of the chapter. I'm going to start on page 74, if y'all happen to have this little yellow book. It basically starts with, what are drugs? Well, that's a wide net. It's not only includes the now legalized recreational drugs I'm not personally fond of, y'all, but it also includes non-legal street drugs, legal prescription drugs, alcohol, and anything that's addictive, right? So for me, anything that pulls me out of my awareness, easy for me to say, does not work for me. Does that mean I won't have a martini or two on occasional, recreational kind of thing? And I just finished telling you that. Yeah, no. But would it work for me to drink like my boyfriend did in college, throwing up and not remembering anything we did the night before? I mean, he would forget complete conversations, all this stuff. No, is my answer, or my point of view. That was pure unconsciousness. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are happy when they are doing anything that could be mind altering. It's when you do drugs to get happy that it can be tricky. Yeah. I'm sure my boyfriend in college never thought the drugs would eventually kill him. They did. He ended up actually dying of a heart attack, massive pulmonary, I believe, and had been in and out of rehab quite a bit after college, from what I understand. His sister called me and filled me in. I think he made it to 50. Anyway, I'm sure Michael Jackson and Prince thought the same thing. Fortunately, there are different protocols in place for those that wish to choose something different, like alcohol, what is it? AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Narcotics Anonymous, plus all the other groups in place for families to cope and eventually thrive. But there's a lot more at stake. Drugs create, and here's the piece I want to get to, because I think this is something a lot of people don't even realize. Drugs create a biochemical personality. So when someone chooses drugs, they are choosing to become a certain type of personality, biochemical. Okay. It is my interesting point of view that a lot of people choose drugs to drown out their awareness. And after all, would an infinite being choose to get high? Now, I'm high on life, so I choose that kind of highness. You know what I'm saying? They would choose awareness. I get it. Sometimes all this awareness can make your butt itch. It's true. Sometimes knowing things can make you a little cray cray. It's like people can't lie to me. I always know what their agenda is. Even if I don't let them know that I know their agenda, it's like I try to make it to where they can be open or free enough to just tell me what they really want or what's going on. But they don't take the bait in most cases, and that's okay. I've been there, done that. I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just saying that sometimes having that awareness can be a lot for me. So anyway, la 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 la. But if you can live in awareness as an interesting point of view, you don't have the point of view that you need to drown anything out. I have some clients that feel that this so-called awareness is just too darn intense for them. I just said it. Many of those clients are on depression medications. The caveat is that when you do drugs to tone down your awareness, it actually exponentializes awareness, like acid does. You become even more aware of stuff. It's like you're opening a door or a gateway. It puts everything into the sensory cortex of the brain. And the cruel joke is now you find yourself being reactive in areas of your life where you normally wouldn't be. It's like all of a sudden you're acting like a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum. And you're like, who am I being right now? It's like sensory overload that can't be controlled. So the thing that you were trying to control becomes uncontrollable and takes more to gain control over. And the cycle continues. Have you seen drug users that are addicted but say they are not? They say they can function, although it's like they are on automatic pilot, going unconscious more and more until the light just goes off. Yikes. Yeah. If you are doing drugs of any kind, you cannot choose consciousness. Instead, you're choosing what Gary and Dr. Dane, the co-founder and founder and co-founder of Access Consciousness, they call it anti-consciousness. Anti-consciousness. It's not that drugs are wrong. The problem with most drugs is they open the door to entities or demons coming into your body. Yeah, you heard me. I said it. Entities and demons, these are, entities are just beings without bodies. Entities can also be things like, business and all sorts of stuff that have consciousness. But here's the thing. When you do all these things, you actually, you go unconscious, you're leaving the door open for something else to come in and drive the ship, I've had clients that couldn't remember anything after they had their first drink and even wondered how they got home, waking up just fine the next day, but with no memory. In these cases, it's been my experience that they have been taking drug and alcohol entities into their bodies and allowing themselves to go on autopilot, checking out completely until it's last call for alcohol. Somehow they get home seemingly unscathed and the entities or demons move on. Yeah, because now the person's asleep and they want to go find another body. At least that's been my experience with people that come to me and they're like, I don't know what my problem is. I have one drink. And one drink, I mean, that's kind of cray-cray. I have a niece that would be the case. She would drink one beer and then not remember the rest of the evening. And one beer is not an excessive amount of alcohol. But if you're an entity magnet, or the entities know that you're going to be doing this at a certain particular time every night, they might be making house calls and you don't even know it. That is what I call an open door policy. These clients even claim that something is telling them to have a drink or two or more until they can't remember anymore. When they appear to still be in the body, it becomes apparent that many of these entities don't even know they are dead, and they are just searching out the vibration they knew when they had a body. Perhaps they died of a drug overdose or alcohol-related accident. That's a possibility. They popped out of their body so quickly they don't even realize they don't have one now. And you can actually facilitate these entities, if you're aware that they're there. A lot of times just letting them know that they don't have a body anymore makes them leave and, go find a new one. Like when I say new one, I don't mean finding another person who's drinking, but I mean finding, like, birthing into this reality again, if they choose it. Now, let me be clear here. My point of view is not that alcoholism is just a delivery system for drug and alcohol entities to feel like they have a body again. They can't even get in unless the host is unconscious. It's just one of the possibilities why someone might feel the uncontrollable urge to drink. Isn't that interesting? And I'm going to kind of stop there with that chapter. There's a lot more there if you're curious, because, it's like I said, this one's kind of a loaded thing. And I'm not saying that drugs or alcohol are bad per se. I mean, if you're on prescription medications, don't stop taking them. That would be an idiotic thing to do. And I know that there's a lot of side effects with drugs and whatnot. I will say this. Back in 2019, was it 2019? No, I can't remember. Maybe it was 2018. I don't remember exactly. But for my birthday, I decided that I was going to go to a holistic therapist and do the homeopath route and get off of all my medications. And my medications were not extreme. I wasn't like taking depression medication. Not to say that that's extreme or not, but I did just mention that I had a lot of clients that wanted to get off that stuff. And, could be that they had PTSD. I suffered from PTSD myself, so I get it. Um, but I took a lot of stuff. I mean, I was taking allergy meds. I was taking migraine meds, drinking copious amounts of coffee when those two together weren't getting rid of my migraines. I was on birth control. I took medicine for adult acne. What else? That might be about it. But it was like this was on the daily and inhaling, what the spray and COPD medication, all this stuff, man. And I asked the Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, I said, I am so sick of having allergies. What can you recommend? And he said, find a good homeopath. So there it was, my birthday, October 1st. I found someone a friend had recommended, Marnie Reisner, and who's fabulous, by the way. And she, put me on these drops that you put under the tongue. And as my body would let go of stuff, I would stop taking these things. It took a while because, I would do kinesiology, which is a form of muscle testing. And eventually got off of everything. But it was so funny because my point of view was, how are these drops going to do anything for me? I'm just putting drops in water or under my tongue. And I didn't actually see anything happening. But what ended up happening was shortly after I got off of everything, I started having PTSD symptoms. And let me just remind y'all, I was an entity. I was in India with a bunch of entities in 2008 when I was shot by terrorists. Now, I never had a PTSD moment about it afterwards. But here's the thing. When you're taking all these kinds of medications, they are pushing all this back into your body to where you don't actually experience it. So, if you're drinking copious amounts of alcohol because you're trying to deal with your PTSD, the PTSD doesn't get a chance to come to the surface and to unwind like it needs to unwind. Think of the military, all these guys that have seen action. That's what's going on with them. And then they come home and they're angry and they have these flashbacks and all this stuff happens. Well, that's the PTSD. And what do? They might drink too much. They might get hooked on some types of drugs or, things that just kind of take them out of having to live in that space instead of allowing all these things to unwind in their body. Well, long story short of it all is it took me about 4 months with the help of this homeopath. And I was also going to a cranial sacral chiropractor, neuro chiropractor, Dr. Deering, who is amazing. Dr. Justin Deering. Look him up, y'all. He's in Cool Springs, Tennessee. And, I feel like the guy saved my life. And then there was another guy I was going to as well that was doing cranial sacral for me. I'm trying to remember his name now. That's really terrible of me. But, I'm going to put their information underneath because if you're suffering from any of these symptoms that I'm telling you about, if nothing else, they might be able to point you to someone in your area. So I felt like they saved my life. 4 months, completely off of everything. And if I can perceive the energy of the PTSD coming to the surface, I now have the tools to navigate it. Not just access tools, but tools that these facilitators, these homeopathic type of doctors. Oh, yeah, I now remember the other doctor, Dr. Kravitz. So I'll have his information below as well. But basically, I did the hard work. I couldn't work for almost 4 months. I was stuttering. I was dizzy. I couldn't, I was sleeping tremendous amounts of the day in addition to at night. I was seeing Dr. Deering alone 4 times a week and doing all these eye exercises that unwound all these symptoms. And these weren't even really hard drugs I was taking, y'all. Can you imagine? Can you imagine people that don't know? And what they end up doing is getting on all kinds of things to deal with ADD, ADHD, autism, which, by the way, I am on the spectrum as well. I have a brain injury. but I'm a highly functioning person with autism and highly psychic. And so I see these as superpowers. But anyway, that's just, like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg of why I have a point of view and align with, if I can put it that way, with this particular tool of no drugs of any kind. Doesn't mean, like I said, if I have a horrific headache and my body is muscle testing for it, and this isn't a reason of justification, I just go, hey, buddy, would you like an Advil? And I take maybe 4 or 5 a year, like that. And I do topical stuff for the adult acne now that is not something I'm swallowing, that works better for my body. Now, this may not work for you, but that's what I got. So what I would like to leave you with is, ask your body some questions. Hey, am I trying to check out? I mean, it can be an addiction to TV, which, okay, I have that. I have to watch The Big Bang Theory every night, 2 episodes, laugh my ass off, and then that's my communal time with my mom. And I finally have made myself not wrong for it. So that can be another way to take you out of your awareness. Just saying. And I'm working on that too. So by all means, if this tool speaks to you, explore the possibilities with that. If you have any comments or questions, I read them all. I answer them all down below. And and if you know of anybody that could benefit from this conversation or this YouTube, please share with them. I would sure appreciate that. And until next Monday with another tool from Access Consciousness, I am signing off for now. Ciao, ciao from Nashville, y'all.